Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report with MItchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And coming up here on today's show, the latest news and rumors around the silver and black. Now, I would not be able to do today's show if it wasn't for our awesome sponsor, Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com. Use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. Now, one of the things that I love to bring attention to people is competition, because I think people thrive on competition. And the Raiders are going up against the Dallas Cowboys on Saturday. And here is our August subs battle. The Raiders are down to the Cowboys report. I don't want that shit to fly. By the time Saturday rolls around, I want us to be at exactly the same number. So if you could, hit that subscribe button. You hate the Cowboys? Hit that subscribe button. You hate losing? Hit that subscribe button. Because coming up here on today's show, we're getting into the latest around Chandler Jones, Jakorian Bennett, and Jeudy. So the latest on Chandler is that he has missed 11 practices in a row. And he hasn't played a single snap during the preseason. Josh McDaniels said on Wednesday that he is getting close to returning to playing time. The problem is, I know a lot of Raider fans out there, they want to see a Jones on the field, right? And don't get me wrong. I don't want to rush back Chandler in any source of the imagination. He had a bad season last year with only 4.5 sacks. Here's the problem, though. The Raiders are not going to put him in a position where they feel like, all right, he's got to get out there onto the field. Yes, he's missed 11 practices. Yes, he has missed some playing time. Yes, he had a bad season last season. But let's be real. I think that the Raiders and Chandler Jones are just playing it safe. When you think about the Jimmy Garoppolo situation, when you think of the Tyree Wilson situation, when you think of the way that the Raiders have handled every single one of their injuries this entire offseason, they have played it safe. And it's exactly what they're going to continue to do here with Chandler. On top of that, I also know Jones last season, end of the year on the IR, had a wicked elbow injury, and he knows what it took to get him back this season. He's also not going to rush himself back. In fact, this is what Chandler Jones had to say on this offseason. I went through a whole rehab process, and I was rehabbing. I took my time opposed to just jumping on the weights and trying to gain muscle right away. So I got back healthy. Then I started working out, lifting, and that's where I am. I kind of just shed the leaves off the tree, and then I'm growing them back on. My take of hearing what Chandler had to say, and just honestly, this whole injury situation going on with Chandler Jones right now, if the Raiders are truly worried about Jones, they're going to keep 5 defensive ends when roster cuts are due, which is on August 29th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You know that Max is going to make it. Chandler's going to make it. Tyree's going to make it. I do think that 4 defensive ends is probably the best situation here for this team, but maybe they keep 5. And if they do keep 5, it's because they're worried about Tyree Wilson. It's because they're worried about Chandler Jones. Here's the problem, though. Who ends up making it? Is it going to be Jordan Willis? I don't know. Is it going to be Malcolm Koonce? Potentially. Maybe it's Adam Plant Jr., maybe it's Isaac Rochelle. I do believe that all 4 of those players have an opportunity to make this roster right now. So as it stands, think about the year last season that Chandler had. Now you think about the fact that he's missed a lot of games, preseason games, a lot of practices, 11 in a row, and where we are at right now with this Raiders team. I want you to tell me, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so we'll scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being not worried at all. 10, you're freaking the hell out. What is your concern level with Chandler Jones as it stands right now? My concern level with Jones is a 7, and it's because of his play that he had last season and where the Raiders stand right now. The only way the Raiders go from being honestly, they've been bad. Let's be real. They've been a bad defense to a good defense to a great defense is good. You need the best part of Chandler Jones. Great. Tyree Wilson, Chandler Jones, Max Crosby got to be producing. And in the AFC West, when you have Russell Wilson, when you have Patrick Mahomes, when you have Justin Herbert, you have to be able to take that next level. And I'm hoping Chandler's ready for for week 1. If y'all want to take your bowl game to the next level, listen the hell up, because today's show is presented by Manscaped. And I didn't get a longs on by not using Manscaped. So you can get free shipping and 20% off, but you got to use promo code Raiders. That tells Manscaped that you watch the Raiders Report. If you go to manscaped.com and use promo code Raiders, that is the number one way to tell Manscaped, that big company, that you watch the Raiders Report. So sure, I know there's a bunch of people out there that use the Lawnmower 4.0. And for those that don't use it, you're missing out, because this is the number one product that you need to use on your ball sack, on your shaft. And if there's ever been somebody out there, and I don't need you to tell me down in the comments, but if this has happened to you in the last month where you've used a cheap razor and you've cut yourself down there and you have that moment where you're like, oh, don't let that happen. Manscaped's not going to let that happen because of this awesome Lawnmower 4.0. All you got to do is use code Raiders at manscaped.com, which if you can't find the link, it's probably because you can't find anything else down there because you got a giant George W. rocking. Use code Raiders at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. And who knows, maybe she will do to you. Let's go to the next injury update here. It's around Jakorian Bennett. And I was talking to a source today about the injury around the Raiders' 4th round pick out of Maryland. They told me that Bennett is dealing with something, however, it is minor. And this is another situation where the Raiders would rather play it safe than putting out the young man and just putting him in a bad situation. He missed practice on Wednesday, he missed practice on Thursday, and he didn't play in the preseason game against the Rams. Some people might see that last note and see it's no big deal, it's just the preseason. But if you watch the Raiders preseason game against the Rams, they put their entire starting defense out there. Marcus Peters played. Max Crosby played. If there is a game where Max Crosby plays in the preseason and Jakorian Bennett doesn't play in the preseason, that should be alarms going off in your head. And Chugs and I, we both said it during our live watch party. The fact that Jakorian's not out there, that should be a concern. There is something going on that Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, that they are not telling you. And I am simply up here telling you that, yes, Bennett is dealing with an injury. Unfortunately, my sources don't know what the injury is because McDaniels and Ziegler aren't going to tell you. From what I know, though, it is minor, and that the hope is that he is ready to go week 1 against the Denver Broncos. So how about this? Let's ask you this question. We talked about Chandler Jones battling an injury. We talked about Jakorian Bennett battling an injury. Which one are you more concerned about? Let's say it's week 1 right now. Raiders getting ready to go up against the Denver Broncos. September 10th, week 1, NFL season, division rival. Which player, if they are not able to go, you're like, ah, shit, this sucks. Type CJ for Chandler Jones, or I want you to type JB for Jakorian Bennett. For me personally, I get the fact that some people are scared about Bennett. However, the answer is Chandler Jones. Why? It's the money that you're paying. The money that you're paying Chandler Jones, and for the ability to get after the quarterback, that makes the back end of your secondary a lot easier. Am I worried about Jakorian? Yes. But I'm a lot more worried about Jones because he's older and he's coming off a very bad season. Let's go to the next injury update here, and this has nothing to do with the Raiders, but it also has a lot to do with the Raiders, right? Anytime you keep your friends close, you got to keep your enemies closer, and Jerry Jeudy was carted off the practice field today due to a hamstring injury. And hamstrings, they definitely have a tendency to linger around a little bit. The Raiders, they play the Broncos in 17 days from the time that I am making this video. And I'm telling you all right now, I do not expect Jerry Jeudy to play. In fact, while I have been live, there has been a little bit of an update on Jeudy, and he is expected to miss several weeks. It is not a season-ending hamstring injury, but with the amount of injuries that the Broncos have had at wide receiver, he's not playing week 1. I'm telling you all that right now. Jerry Jeudy is not playing week 1 against the Las Vegas Raiders, which means that helps out our defense a lot. Hurts Russell Wilson because they've already lost Jerry Jeudy. Tim Patrick's not out there. KJ Hamler, probably their number 3 receiver. He's not going to be out there either. The Broncos have caught the injury bug, which usually belongs to the Chargers. But, I mean, let's be real. This is a big-time loss for Denver, and this is going to help out this Raiders team during week 1. So this is what Mercy Health on social media had to say about hamstring injuries. Mild to moderate grade 1 or grade 2 tears or strains can heal within 3 to 8 weeks with diligent home therapy. For a grade 3 hamstring tear or strain, recovery may be long as 3 months. Returning to sports before injury is fully healed can cause more severe injuries. The fact that the Denver Broncos drafted Jeudy where they did in round 1, right after Henry Ruggs was drafted in 2021, they're not going to put him out there. And with all these injuries, they don't want to rush him back. Like, they think long-term. When you hire Sean Payton, when you have the whole thing going on with Russell Wilson, I don't think that the Broncos are a playoff caliber team, but that's where they're going to be. They're going to be thinking long-term playoffs. Jeudy, he's out, which now means that your number 1 receiver is Courtland Sutton, which also means Marvin Mims and Brandon Johnson are the next 2 guys up. I'm telling you this right now, this is arguably the worst receiving room in the National Football League due to injuries. I do think they have other talented players, but they're not going to be playing in this game. And that is a huge, huge advantage to the Silver and Black. Before I leave all y'all today, I do have a few notes from Raiders practice, and it's not many notes. First off, today was the final day of training camp. It's crazy, man. Like, I think about the entire offseason. May, June, July, August. Think about how much time we've spent on this show together. And think about how many crazy things that we have done. Football is so back. I can't wait for the regular season. I can't wait for week 1 up against the Denver Broncos. In terms of the major practice notes today, I would say Byron Young, the Raiders' 3rd-round rookie, he was practicing today. In terms of the guys that did not practice today, Brenton Brown, not there. He ain't making the 53. Chris Lacey didn't practice today. He ain't making the 53. Dylan Parham still battling with a concussion. They're playing it safe. Obviously going to make the 53. Isaac Rochelle did not practice today. Chandler Jones did not practice. Bilal Nichols, Adam Butler, Marcus Peters, Brandon Faison, Jakorian Bennett, and Marcus Peters all did not practice today. If you're looking for more news, more updates here around the Silver and Black, we're your one-stop shop, and we're going to have a good time while we do it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. That way, you never miss a thing.